Good morning. Let's get excited. Good morning. I like it. My name is Britt Cruz. I am the president for Maine Health Southern Region, which includes Maine Medical Center. And I am very excited today to kick off our graduation ceremony. And first and foremost, let's give the students some applause for the great work that they've done. I must admit, this is the highlight of my week. As usually we don't always celebrate these great things in the administrative world, so thank you for that. I want to first and foremost thank everyone for being here. That means parents, that means family members, that means friends. It does take a village. Certainly the professors that are here. I'd like to thank all of the different alumni that have come through and continue to support the program. I'd like to thank all of the different tremendous donors who provide scholarships for the Maine Track program. You know, the Maine Track program is about 20 years old now, and it has produced several hundred physicians, and many of those physicians are still here in Maine, which means it's just been a tremendous partnership with Tufts University School of Medicine, and we're just thrilled to continue that partnership, and we're so very thankful that that we're able to do this for the state of Maine. So one of the things as I was walking up here, and these are things you don't really want to learn when you are a non-clinician and a terrible person for science. That would be me. But Dr. Doug Sawyer, our chief academic officer, said, Britt, if you could work in your speech the fact that I asked them during the Victor McCusick lecture, what is your favorite gene? How many of you actually did that? You got some work still to do. And I just want you to know that SCN5A, that's the bradycardia gene. So feel bad about that. So I really do want to thank everyone for being here. This is an exciting time. This is such a great program. It's one that means so much to so many different people. Some of the incredible statistics. We have 37 students. 11 are going to stay. Who's the 11 that are going to stay here? Awesome. We've got several in the primary care track, which is such an incredible need here in the state of Maine, and just overall exceptional work. And just we have such great students that have gone through the program. So I'm very excited to just acknowledge you and thank you for your service to the state of Maine by staying here for the next several years. Usually when someone comes up and they talk, they're going to go on and on and on, and you don't want me to do that. But I'm going to ask you to remember two things, and that's it. Two things overall. If you can remember two things, and if you can, I promise you will have success. The first one is well-being. You know what that is like. You just finished med school, and it's going to get worse. And we laugh about that, but it's going to be tougher. Because all that you've learned, all that you started to put into practice, now you really are putting into practice. That pressure is real. And so first and foremost, take care of yourself. We've seen incredible progress through the last 15 to 20 years where we never talked about burnout. We never talked about resiliency, especially with our clinical teams. But now we actually do talk about those things because it's real. So please take care of yourself. Make sure that you are doing what you need to do. Yes, you are going to have long weeks. Yes, you're going to have intense weeks. Sometimes you're going to have those horrible days. But at the end of it, I just ask you to figure out what it is that your go-to is and make sure that you are doing that on a regular basis. So because we need you for the long run, not just for the short term. So take care of yourselves and well-being. The second is if you can remember this one thing, you will be a great physician. That is keeping the patient at the center of everything that you do. If you always remember that that is your North Star, that is what we are all here about, keeping that patient, because what you will run into is you're going to run into an 8-year-old that is celebrating a birthday in the hospital on his 8th birthday and doesn't want to be there. You're going to face a 22-year-old that is scared because just got diagnosed with bradycardia and is going to have a pacemaker implanted at the age of 22 and doesn't know every time that little flutter happens what that means. You're going to face a mother that is getting ready to deliver twins but has a very high risk pregnancy, and that mother is going to be very nervous. If you give that person another 30 seconds, you will be able to keep that patient at the center of everything that you do. You will find family members that are going to ask 112 questions because ChatGPT told them to do so. Hang in there. Hang in there with them, because probably 3 or 4 of those questions are really going to hit home, and you're going to be, oh, I didn't know that about this patient. They know that patient better than you do. Just acknowledge that. You're going to find that patient that needs to have palliative care, and you're going to have that conversation with a loved one and a spouse that has been with that person for the last 67 years. I know about a lot of these things because these are the things that happen in my life, and they happen around my family. They happen around my friends. They happen around so many different people that I know. Well, that's the same with everybody in this room. We all have that same story. Everybody has an individual story. But if you keep that patient at the center of everything that you do, I promise you that you will have success. So with that, I would like to announce Dr. Linda Chaudhran, who is going to announce our student speaker. So, and Linda is our Vice President of Medical Education. So thank you again. Thank you all for being here today. And we're really excited about your next phase. Congratulations.
Well, before I introduce our student speaker, I just want to say congratulations to everyone, not just the students, but to their families and friends and everybody who has supported them through this. This is quite an accomplishment. And for the main track, you get to celebrate twice, which is great. Today and in 2 weeks, right? Yes. So congratulations, everyone. I am truly honored to be here and asked to introduce our student speaker, your student speaker, Grace Guile. As you know, you have chosen the speaker who you wanted to represent you today. And in my experience, the choice of the speaker reflects the important values and qualities of that individual class. So from my own interactions with Grace and from my knowledge of her work with my colleagues, what I've learned from you all, her fellow students, and from watching her on the Main Track Instagram, Grace really does embody the class of 2026's values of empathy, equity, serving the patients, as we just heard, serving the people of Maine, and leading with purpose and humility. All of you embody that, and I know that Grace will reflect that as she speaks to you. You're going to hear a little bit today about Grace's journey, but I also want you to know a few things about her. That she's been a leader throughout her time here in the Main Track. She joined us after completing her undergraduate degree at Simmons University in neuroscience and behavior, which tells you what specialty she's going into, and taking a year to work in inpatient psychiatry and in emergency rooms. When she joined the Main Track, she immediately took on multiple roles, of course. She was chosen to be a student member of a really very, very important committee, which is the Maine Health Board subcommittee. It's the Education and Research Committee. And she was vocal and represented her fellow students beautifully. The Main Track Admissions Subcommittee, and most importantly, she has really, really served as an ambassador for the Main Track in many ways, including the Instagram page. Again, I'm not an Insta person, but I really believe she has helped to recruit people through Instagram, because I watch it now and it's so much fun, and to see others take it on. We can talk about this later, how I need to learn some technology, but it has been just really one place where her leadership has shown. Another place that I got the opportunity to watch her is with Project Medical Education, where our students help to really communicate to community leaders and to legislatures how important the Main Track is, but also what it takes to become a physician. Until you live this experience or are part of somebody who's living this experience, it's hard to really understand what it means to be a physician. And she helped to communicate that in so many wonderful ways. It is not just that Grace is a Mainer with deep roots in Maine. It is that she is a Main Tracker who deeply believes in and contributes to the Main Track mission. I also got the unique experience of working with Grace on her scholarly project, and it allowed me to learn more about her and our shared interests, particularly psychiatry and ice cream. And I did see on Instagram that you were celebrating with ice cream with your colleagues, so I know we've got ice cream to go. So while she told me she's not really interested in being a researcher, her research question about exploring the limited literature about the experiences of LIC students really reflected her curiosity and ability to take an important question and study it with a rigorous approach. I'm really excited that Grace is going to be staying at Maine Health as a psychiatry resident, and I will have 4 more years to gently convince her that she can add researcher to her many accolades and to our joint interests. So I am just so happy to be able to introduce her and to welcome her up here as the Main Track Class of 2026 student speaker.
I'm going to take this water if that's okay. Thank you, Dr. Chodron, for that amazing introduction. Good morning and welcome, family, friends, and faculty to the Main Track celebration for the class of 2026. Today, we're celebrating our cohort, the resilience we've shown, the sacrifices we've made, and the dedication each one of us carries into the field of medicine. We are also celebrating what it means to be a Maine Tracker and how this program has nurtured us into physicians who are not only prepared clinically, but grounded in connection, adaptability, and community. Being a Maine Tracker has meant learning medicine not just in the classroom, but in clinics where you get to know your patients by name, in small communities where we learned the true challenges of rural medicine, and in a program that asks you to show up not just as a student, but as a human. It has meant living in 2 worlds, Boston and Maine, and learning to carry the strengths of both learning environments with us. It has meant understanding the responsibility and privilege it is to provide care in places where it is truly needed. Before anything else, I need to acknowledge that we did not get here alone. To our faculty, administration, and mentors, thank you for supporting us not only as trainees, but as people. Thank you for being there for us when things got overwhelming, for reminding us why we're here when we lost sight of that, and for pushing us to be better physicians without forgetting our humanity. And to our family, friends, and peers, thank you for standing with us as we learn to balance the demands of medicine with the realities of our lives. Thank you for the numerous phone calls, for your patience when we had to miss important moments, and for your steady belief in us, especially in moments of doubt. I could spend all my time up here trying to describe the amount of grit, sacrifice, and uncertainty behind the achievements we're celebrating today. But the truth is, the only people who can fully understand what these past 4 years have required of us are the 36 individuals that I am so proud to call my classmates, my friends, and my future colleagues. We started this journey together during a gorgeous week in July for Main Track orientation. During this week, we traveled throughout the state and stepped into clinics as medical students for the very first time. We bonded over breakfast at the Clarion and coordinated a very elaborate wilderness rescue mission for simulated patients during our camping trip to Cow Island. Let me set the scene. We just finished our last lunch together, and the staff from Cow Island gathered us around and told us that there were 2 people who had gotten lost while kayaking and ended up injured somewhere on the island. Our goal was to locate the kayakers, treat them, and transport them across the island to the beach. Once there, we had to build multiple bonfires to act as smoke signals for a fictitious helicopter that would eventually transport our patients to Maine Medical Center. If that wasn't enough, we also had to build 2 working rafts to bring our patients from the beach to a floating dock in the bay, which acted as our simulated helipad. What followed was an afternoon of coordinated chaos. One of us begrudgingly became our leader. We split into groups and started assigning roles. Throughout the afternoon, we were frantically calling each other with updates. organizing materials we found around the island, and trusting that we each would execute our own individual part of the plan. And somehow it worked. Despite being exhausted from a week full of activities and a night of minimal sleep in a platform tent, we came together for this common goal. The rafts, which were made out of old wood pallets, pieces of foam tied together with rope, didn't quite make it out to the floating dock on their own. So we put on life jackets, got into the water, and swam the rafts out ourselves. At no point did it feel like we fully knew what we were doing. But by trusting each other, adapting as we went, and committing to this shared goal, we figured it out. Looking back, it feels like a pretty accurate preview of the next 4 years. At the time, there was so much we didn't know. A lot of medicine, obviously, but also what these 4 years would ask of us. Since then, we've uprooted our lives multiple times and moved between Boston, Portland, and small communities throughout the state. We gave our time, often at the expense of being with the people we love, in pursuit of a dream we had for years. All while life kept happening. When we started medical school, our deans reminded us that life continued in all of its complexity during these 4 years. But it still felt like a shock when it actually did, in fact, continue. We supported each other through personal loss, friendship strife, career uncertainty, and moments where medicine demanded more than we thought we could give. At the same time, we've shared so much joy. We've celebrated holidays together, created new Maine Track traditions, and always made time for a class-wide party. We celebrated engagements, marriages, growing families, and the many milestones that carried us through medical school. And along the way, this program, these people. If these past 4 years have taught us anything, it's that we were never meant to do this work alone. We've moved through classroom learning, clerkships, and residency applications side by side, and now we find ourselves in this moment that feels both sentimental and a little strange. Everything we've worked so hard for is here, but it still feels impossible to take in. Because within all of this excitement of matching, graduation, and taking in our last moments together as a cohort, there is just as much uncertainty. It doesn't matter if you are moving across the country, staying here at Maine Health, or going somewhere in between. Each of us has wondered, in the quieter moments, whether we are truly ready for this next chapter, if we're cut out for the demands of residency and actually being a physician. In these moments of uncertainty, I want to remind you of something that has grounded me during medical school. Trust the process. Trust that our training will not fail us when we need it. Trust that we are fierce advocates for ourselves and our patients. And trust that the Maine Track has created many amazing physicians, and we are ready to be among them. And even though we're stepping into something that feels overwhelming and scary, we are not stepping into it alone. In residency, our communities will change, our homes will change, and the people we work with each day will change. But what doesn't change is that we still have each other. Even when we are no longer in the same city or in the same hospital, we get to carry this community with us and build new connections alongside it. Our support for each other doesn't end just because the structure around it does. And for many of us, this community has become inseparable from where it was built. Over these 4 years, we didn't just train in Maine, we made a home here without fully realizing it was happening. As someone who was born and raised in this state, I know I came in with my own version of Maine already in my mind. But what I'm leaving with is entirely different, shaped by every single one of you. My perspective of Maine has also been shaped by patients who let us in during their vulnerable moments, by communities that accepted us with open arms, and by learning what it means to feel a true sense of belonging. I hope that no matter where you came from when we started this program, you carry a new sense of connection to this place. And wherever you're going next, I hope that Maine stays with you, not only as a place you can return to, but as a grounding point, a reminder of who you were here, who you became here with all of these people around you. Not just because it's where we went to medical school together, but because of the community that we built here together. And that community did not happen by chance. The Maine track provided the foundation, but it was each of you who made it something meaningful. Our time here has shaped us into well-trained physicians grounded in connection, resilience, and community. As we move into residency, we carry with us not only our medical education, but the ability to create supportive, meaningful environments wherever we land. We are physicians who show up for our patients, for our communities, and for each other, no matter where we are. Our 4 years together have shown us that even when we don't feel ready, we are more capable than we think. We've shown up on the long days, pushed through the uncertain ones, and found value in moments that have asked a lot from us. So, wherever you go next, carry this with you. You are not starting from scratch. You are continuing forward with everything this program has given you, with a community that will still be here, even as it adapts through both distance and time. And in the moments where this feels insurmountable, I hope you remember what it felt like to be here together today. I couldn't have asked for better people to share these 4 years with. Congratulations to the Maine Track class of 2026. Thank you. That was very, very.
Good morning. My name is Mary Brown. I'm the Dean of Students at the Tufts University School of Medicine. And I'd just like to say, again, welcome to everybody. It's a great day to celebrate our Maine Track M26 class. And on behalf of Dean Boucher, all of the other deans and staff members in all of our offices in Boston, we're excited to see you in 2 weeks to celebrate you again. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Jason Moran. Dr. Moran is an assistant professor at Tufts and an attending physician in hematology and oncology at Maine Health Cancer Care at Maine Medical Center. He's an educator who is consistently recognized by students for his excellence in teaching. Dr. Moran earned his medical degree, summa cum laude, as valedictorian from Georgetown University School of Medicine and completed his very impressive. He completed his internal medicine residency and HEMONC fellowship at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center, where he served both as chief medical resident and later as a chief fellow. Dr. Moran is widely regarded as an exceptional and engaging lecturer. I'm sure you guys all agree. Particularly known for his ability to break down complex hematologic concepts and make them accessible, intuitive, and clinically meaningful. Students regularly describe his teaching as clear, thorough, and memorable, and note that his interactive visual approach helps build a strong conceptual foundation rather than rote memorization. Many learners credit his lectures with increasing their confidence in and understanding of his challenging material. Dr. Moran's dedication to education has been recognized through multiple teaching awards from Tufts University School of Medicine, Maine Medical Center, as well as from the fellowship. His commitment to ensuring that students truly understand the why behind the medicine exemplifies the highest standards of medical education, and we are so proud to have him as faculty. Please join in welcoming Dr. Jason Moran.
Good morning, everyone. Grace, that's going to be a tough act to follow. Also, that Cow Island experience sounds like an episode of Survivor. Well, Good afternoon, everyone, to the class of 2026, to your family, your friends, to the faculty, staff, mentors, preceptors, community physicians, and to everyone who helped to bring these students to this moment. Thank you for the privilege of being here. And to the graduating class, thank you. Being asked to speak at your graduation would have been meaningful under any circumstance for me, but being asked by the students themselves, by you, is truly one of the greatest honors of my career. I mean that sincerely. In medicine, we're given many titles over time: student, as you're very familiar with, resident, fellow, attending, consultant, course director. Some titles are formal, some are printed on badges, some appear in email signatures and CVs and institutional directories. But the titles that matter most are often the ones no one officially gives you: teacher, mentor, colleague, trusted person, and friend. And today, I get to stand here and speak to a group of people I once knew as medical students and who I now know as colleagues. That is an amazing and wonderful thing. I had the privilege of teaching you during your second year when you were still in that phase of medical school where every organ system feels like a separate mountain, and every exam feels like it may determine your entire future, and every lecturer says this is really important, which is both true and not always helpful. My particular contribution to your medical education was to teach you how blood works, which my kids know more about than they probably would like to. How it clots, how it bleeds, how it fails, and how it fights. How a small protein missing or misdirected can change someone's life. How a platelet count can be both a number and a warning. How the coagulation cascade, which looks like a wiring diagram designed with no interest in human happiness, can nevertheless explain why one patient is bleeding, another patient is clotting, and a third patient is somehow doing both at the same time. I taught you about anemia, thrombocytopenia, bleeding, clotting disorders, bone marrow failures, and you also learned about hematologic malignancies. But you have taught me something too. You've reminded me that medicine, at its best, is about something much more important than what fits on a lab report. It's about the human being behind the result. And this class gets that. You've been trained in a program that is built around that idea. The Maine track is not just a geographic pathway. It's not simply a way to spend more time in Maine while earning a Tufts medical degree. It's also a philosophy of medical education. From the beginning, you were part of communities. You learned medicine not only in lecture halls and hospitals, but in towns, clinics, rural practices, coastal communities, urban centers, and places where the physician is not anonymous. You learn that patients do not live inside textbook chapters. They live in families, in jobs, in grief, in poverty, in recovery, in isolation, in loyalty to place, especially in Maine, in love for their children, in fear of leaving home, in pride that sometimes makes it hard to ask for help. You've also learned, if you didn't know already, that Mainers are a very unique and incredibly hardy group of people. Many of you completed a longitudinal integrated clerkship, a model that asks something very different of a medical student. Instead of meeting a patient once, learning a lesson, and moving on, you followed patients over time. You saw diagnoses unfold, treatments succeed, fail, change, and complicate themselves. You saw people on good days and bad days. You saw how specialists communicate or sometimes do not communicate. You saw how the healthcare system looks when experienced not as a set of rotations, but as a patient moving through it. That kind of training changes you. Because once you follow a patient across time, it becomes harder to reduce them to a problem list. It becomes harder to say the CHF in room 8, or the DVT in that clinic room, or the AML induction down the hall, because you know too much. You know their name, you know who drove them there, you know what they were afraid to ask, you know what they heard when someone else thought they were explaining things clearly. You know what the diagnosis interrupted in their lives. And that knowledge is not extra. It's not sentimental. It's not the soft part of medicine that we indulge after the real work is done. It is the work. William Osler famously urged physicians to, quote, care more particularly for the individual patient than for the special features of the disease, end quote. That line has survived for more than a century because every generation of physicians needs to relearn it. We need to relearn it because medicine keeps giving us more special features of disease, more biomarkers, more imaging, more risk scores, more molecular panels, more targeted therapies, more alerts in the electronic health record, more things to measure, things to click, things to document, more things to justify. And I say that as a hematologist. I love the details, and I am not here to tell you that the details do not matter. The details matter enormously. The difference between treating a disease correctly and almost treating it correctly can be the difference between recovery and harm, and even life and death. So yes, learn the details and respect the details. Keep studying, keep asking, keep reading. Stay humble before the complexity of the human body, because the human body has an almost inexhaustible capacity to remind us that we don't know as much as we think we know. But never let the special features of the disease obscure the individual patient. That's the hard balance, and that is the art of medicine. And I think Maine track students are unusually well prepared for that balance, because you've trained in places where the patient cannot easily. You've trained in communities where continuity is not a curriculum objective. It's simply how care works. You've seen medicine in a state where geography matters, where access matters, weather matters, transportation matters, trust matters, where the availability of a specialist may depend on distance, internet access, money, time off work, or whether someone has anyone to drive them. You've seen that standard of care is not always a clean phrase when applied to the messy lives of real people. You've seen that there's a difference between asking what should be done and asking, what can this patient actually do? Both questions matter. The first asks us to know medicine. The second asks us to know the patient. You'll spend the rest of your careers trying to answer both at the same time. Today, I want to talk about 3 things in particular that I hope you carry with you. The first is curiosity. The second is presence. And the third is courage. Curiosity first. Every good doctor I know is curious, not just intelligent, not just efficient, not just well-trained, but curious. Curiosity is what keeps you from assuming you already know the answer. It's what makes you ask one more question. It's what makes you go back into the room. It's what makes you look at the blood smear yourself, which you should do. It's what makes you call the radiologist, read the old discharge summary, ask the patient, what do you mean by dizzy? Or wonder why the story does not quite fit. Curiosity is also an antidote to cynicism. Cynicism is one of the occupational hazards of medicine. It can disguise itself as sophistication. It can sound smart. It can sound like experience. It says, I've seen this before. It says this patient is non-compliant. It says this is probably nothing, and this is just how the system works. Curiosity says maybe, but let me understand. And that difference is everything. One of the most dangerous moments in medicine is the moment when a patient becomes familiar enough that we stop being curious. The frequent admission, the chronic pain patient, the patient labeled as, quote, drug seeking, suffering with substance use disorder, the patient with 10 specialists and no diagnosis, the patient whose labs are always abnormal, the patient whose story is complicated, frustrating, inconsistent, or hard to hear. Stay curious. Curiosity does not mean naivete. It does not mean believing everything at face value. It doesn't mean ordering every test or chasing every possibility. It means approaching the person in front of you with enough humility to recognize that there may be something you have not yet understood. In hematology, we learn this constantly. A platelet count of 10 may mean one thing in one patient and something entirely different in another. An elevated ferritin could be iron overload, inflammation, liver disease, malignancy, infection, macrophage activation. You didn't expect a heme lecture today, did you? A prolonged PTT may be a bleeding risk, clotting risk, artifact, inhibitor, anticoagulant, or a lab value that means nothing until someone asks the right question. Blood teaches humility, and so do patients, and so should medical training, and it has for you. The second thing I hope you carry is presence. I know this is a difficult thing to say to a graduating medical school class in 2026. You're entering a healthcare system that will ask you to do more with less time. It'll ask you to see more patients, answer more messages, complete more documentation, navigate more prior authorizations, absorb more alerts, and somehow still be human. I will not pretend that presence is easy, but I will tell you that patients can feel it. They can feel when you're in the room, and they can feel when only your body is in the room while your mind is already on to the next task. And to be clear, none of us does this perfectly. Every physician has been distracted. Every physician has rushed. Every physician has had days when the inbox, pager, schedule, family obligation, fatigue, moral weight of the job has made true presence difficult. But presence is not the same as time. Presence is what you do with the time you have. Sometimes it's sitting down. Sometimes it's silence with a patient. Sometimes it's admitting, I don't know yet, but I'm going to help figure this out. Sometimes it's calling a family member, noticing the patient has not absorbed anything after you've spoken the word cancer. Sometimes it's realizing that the most important sentence in the visit was not the one you said, but the one the patient almost did not say. Francis Peabody wrote nearly a century ago that the secret of the care of the patient is in caring for the patient. It's one of those lines that risks sounding simple only because it is so true. The secret of the care of the patient is not only knowing the guideline. It's not only choosing the right antibiotic, the right anticoagulant, chemotherapy, dose adjustment, algorithm. It is caring for the patient. Not in the abstract, not caring about humanity in a vague and distant way, caring about this person who might be late because the bus was late, angry because they were scared, the person who doesn't understand why they need treatment when they feel fine, the person who read something terrifying online or on ChatGPT, the person who reminds you of someone you love, the person who definitely does not remind you of someone you love. That is presence. And the paradox is that presence helps us practice better science and medicine. Patients tell us more when they trust us. Families correct us when they know we're listening. Diagnostic clues emerge when people feel safe enough to speak plainly. Treatment plans become better when they're built around the reality of someone's life. Presence is not opposed to excellence, it is, in fact, part of it. The third thing I hope you carry is courage. And I don't mean the dramatic kind of courage, though sometimes medicine requires that too. I mean the quieter kind. The courage to say, I was wrong. The courage to say, I need help. the courage to speak up when something is unsafe, the courage to sit with suffering that you cannot fix, the courage to keep your heart open in a profession that sometimes rewards emotional distance, and the courage to remain kind without becoming passive or cold, the courage to choose the harder version of medicine when the easier one is available. In many ways, you've already chosen that harder path. Community-based, relationship-centered medicine is not easy. It requires more of you than episodic expertise. It requires memory, accountability, showing up again and again after the first visit, after the diagnosis, the hospitalization, the relapse, after the patient didn't follow the plan because the plan didn't fit their life. It asks you to know not only what disease someone has, but who they are becoming while living with it. It's harder, it is also better, and it is needed. Maine needs physicians who understand Maine. Rural communities need physicians who understand that access is not an abstraction. Small towns need physicians who appreciate the dignity and complexity of practicing medicine where everyone knows everyone, where boundaries matter, where trust may take years to build and one simple, careless moment to lose. But everywhere in this country, no matter where you are going, needs physicians who understand that healthcare is not delivered to populations in the abstract. It's delivered one person, one conversation, one decision and relationship at a time. And you are ready for that. Not because you know everything, you do not. But none of us does. In fact, one of the milestones of becoming a doctor is realizing that the diploma does not mark the end of uncertainty. It gives you a more formal role inside of it. And you are ready because you've learned how to learn. You've learned how to sit with patients. You're ready because you've learned that medicine is both science and relationship, both knowledge and judgment, both pattern recognition and humility. And you're ready because you've been shaped by patients who trusted you before you fully trusted yourselves. I want to pause on that. Medical education often makes students feel as though they are all, and to some extent you are, graded, observed, assessed, ranked, commented on, compared, advised, remediated, encouraged, and occasionally subjected to feedback phrases like, quote, continue to read more, end quote, which may be the least useful sentence in the English language. But while you're being evaluated, something else was happening. Patients were letting you into their lives. They let you listen to their hearts. They let you ask awkward questions. They let you be in the room for moments of fear, vulnerability, birth, death, diagnosis, recovery, confusion, and hope. They let you learn on them. And that's an extraordinary gift. Do not lose your sense of awe about that, because one day, not long from now, you will be tired. Maybe you are already. You may be post-call. You may have 30 notes to write. You may have eaten crackers for lunch at 5 o'clock at night. You may be frustrated with a system that feels indifferent to your best efforts. And in that moment, it'll be easy to forget how astonishing it is that a stranger will tell you the truth about their body, their pain, their fear, their habits, their family, and their mortality. Try not to forget. That doesn't mean you must feel inspired in every moment. No honest physician feels inspired in every moment. But try to remember that the trust patients gives us is not normal. It is truly sacred, and it should change how we carry ourselves. Now, because I am a hematologist, I do feel some obligation to leave you with another blood metaphor. I'll try to keep it under control. Blood is, in many ways, a system of connection. Red cells exist to deliver oxygen, amongst other things, not to themselves, but to the tissues that need it. Platelets respond to injury, not because they are individually impressive, though they definitely are, but because they know how to gather at the site of damage. White cells remember. They recognize what belongs and what does not. They respond sometimes beautifully and sometimes disastrously. Coagulation is a cascade, which means no factor acts alone. Each step depends on another. The system works because of sequence, cooperation, regulation, and restraint. And maybe that's not a bad image for medicine. Medicine's also a system of connection. No physician acts alone, even when it feels lonely. You'll depend on nurses, pharmacists, social workers, medical assistants, interpreters, therapists, care managers, lab technicians, radiology technologists, custodial staff, chaplains, schedulers, consultants, primary care clinicians, EMS crews, families, and patients themselves. Respect them, learn from them, thank them. A physician who does not understand the team will eventually misunderstand the patient. And remember that you're entering not just a profession, but a lineage. You were taught by people who were taught by people who were taught by other people. Some of what we pass down is knowledge, some of it's habit, some of it is wisdom. Some of it needs to be questioned. Your job is not merely to inherit it, your job is to improve it. You'll practice medicine at a time of remarkable possibility and remarkable strain. You'll see advances that would have seemed impossible when many of your teachers trained. You'll have tools many of us did not. You'll use therapies that didn't exist. You'll see AI enter clinical practice in ways that are exciting and unsettling, useful but flawed and inevitable. You'll have more data than any generation of physicians before you. But information will not absolve you of judgment, and technology will not replace trust. Efficiency will never substitute for wisdom. And no algorithm will be able to tell a patient with compassion and honesty what it means to live with uncertainty. That'll still be your work. So as you leave medical school, I hope you hold on to the best parts of being a student. Not the exam anxiety, not the debt, the constant feeling that everyone else knows more than you. You can hopefully let those go, but hold on to the curiosity of being a student, to the willingness to ask, can you explain that to me? Hold on to the ability to be changed by what you see. Because the best physicians I know never fully stop being students. They just become students with more responsibility. And soon, you will have more responsibility. Someone will call you doctor at 2 a.m. and expect you to answer. You'll sign orders. You'll pronounce someone dead. You'll tell someone good news and watch their shoulders drop with relief. You'll tell someone bad news and watch their life divide into the before and after. You'll be the person a medical student looks to for reassurance. And soon you realize that you have become, for someone else, the adult in the room. And that's intimidating as it should be. But do not confuse intimidation with inadequacy. The fact that you feel the weight of the work is evidence that you understand the work. The goal is to become trustworthy to patients, to colleagues, to yourself. And that is built in small ways. Reading carefully, listening fully, following up, telling the truth, admitting uncertainty, apologizing when needed, not disappearing when things get hard. Protecting your integrity, your tenderness, the part of you that chose this profession before the profession began making demands of you. Because that part matters. It's not immature, it's not naive, it is not something to outgrow. It is the source. And every physician needs a source, some internal reason to keep returning to the work with seriousness and care. For some of you, that source might be service, might be science. For some, it might be justice, community, faith. For some, a family member, a patient, a teacher, a moment, a loss, an experience of being cared for, or an experience of not being cared for when it mattered. Whatever it is, stay close to it because you will need it. Medicine will give you extraordinary moments, and it will also take things from you if you're not careful. It can take sleep, that's for sure, time, certainty, softness, and sometimes the illusion that effort always leads to the outcome we wanted, but it will give you something rare. It will give you meaningful work. Not easy, not fair, not always appreciated, but meaningful, and that is no small thing. To the families and loved ones here, thank you for helping these students reach this day. Medical student is never completed by one person alone. You absorbed stress that you did not cause. You celebrated exams that you did not take. You listened to stories you may not have fully understood or probably wanted to hear in the first place. You offered encouragement when encouragement was needed, and I suspect food when food was needed too. You helped make this possible. To the faculty and staff, thank you for building and sustaining a program that takes seriously the idea that where and how students learn medicine shapes who they become. And to the class of 2026, let me end where I began. I may have taught you how blood works in some part, but you've already learned something much deeper. You've learned that patients are not diagnoses, that continuity matters, that communities shape health. You've learned that being a physician is not simply having answers, it's being worthy of the questions that patients bring you. Maine track graduates are trained to understand this, and that is exactly what this state and this country need more of right now. Good medicine needs to understand this. So we are lucky to have you. The state of Maine has been lucky to have you. Your future patients will be lucky to have you. And I cannot wait to see what you do next. Congratulations, class of 2026.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moran. That was truly beautiful and included a lot of really excellent lessons that this white cell is going to remember. Yes, there was a Dr. Dix who graduated with me in medical school, and yes, he is a urologist. Hi, everybody. My name's Dina Whitesell. And I have the true honor of serving as the Assistant Dean for Students for the Maine Track program. The Maine Track class of 2026 is indeed, as folks have already said, a very special one. It's funny, we just had capstone this past week, and it's been a really wonderful experience seeing you all interact with one another one more time. And in that week, I've heard multiple staff members talk about what a cohesive group you are. I know that there was some early drama and you lost a few students, and some for personal reasons, some to stay in Boston, but you really are a class that is cohesive and together, and that is truly memorable to me. I'm really happy for that because ultimately, as Grace and others have said today, that is what is going to last much long after the lectures, the didactic experiences are forgotten. That cohesion and connection, the community that you've built is what's going to be remembered. The Maine track really is the best of both worlds. You have the larger cohort and being a part of a larger institution like Tufts, and you also have this smaller community that's close-knit. The best part of this role for me is getting to know all of you as humans, not just as learners. I know about your partners in places like Connecticut, where you match. I know some of them are in dental school, some of them are in Boston. I love seeing your engagement rings and your wedding photos, your truly hysterical holiday cards that literally made me snarf water all over my desk. Um, I know your sweet pets, your black cats, your beautiful boys. And as I was reminded on Monday, apparently I know the backs of your heads. So Maine Track gets to be both big and small. It's both at the same time. And I know I've said that to you many times. So before I turn it over to the fun part of this that you're all waiting for, I want to throw out just a few more ands because you know I need to do that. We know that the next steps are going to be hard sometimes. Intern year is going to be hard. You're going to have some really challenging days and you're going to see some terrible things. And you're also going to feel gratitude for the blessings in your own life and the things that went right. It's not wrong to do that, and sometimes it's the best thing that we can do. We can acknowledge the privilege that we've been given. You're born with bright minds and were nurtured by the important people in your lives. And it took an incredible amount of sacrifice to be sitting in the chairs that you're sitting in right now. Both of those things are true. Residency is full of long hours, a steep learning curve. There's going to be battles to be fought against heart disease and cancer, against insurance companies and budget cuts, against inequities and injustice. And there's going to be times when the right thing to do is to be patient, to do what you can in the system we have right now, because ultimately we can't smash everything and start over. There's human beings to be taken care of today, right now, the ones that are going to be in front of you. Balance is an art, and you're not going to get it right sometimes, and that's okay. Life really does come down to the serenity prayer. We all need the serenity to accept the things that we can't change right now, the courage to change what we can, and the wisdom to know the difference, right? And that wisdom is going to escape you sometimes. You're going to continue to need guidance. We all do. Please know that your Maine Track family, whether it's the leadership up here on the stage, your mentors, your preceptors, your interprofessional colleagues, and most importantly, your peers, are always going to be here for you. As I said earlier, the most special part of the Maine Track is the bonds that you've built with one another. Like the people sitting here today and streaming in from home that love you, I'm incredibly proud of all of you. Maine is always a home for you, so please come and visit. So with that, I have the privilege of introducing the Tufts University School of Medicine Maine Track class of 2026 to you all.
Nicholas Baker. Samantha Berry. Jane Branch. Aishwarya Chandrasekhar. Taylor Choate. Anna Deck. Abby DeSchiffert. Owen Doan. Chanya Elkins. Eva Farkas. Porter Galvin. Zachary George. Grace Guile. Louisa Goldman. Jamie Gullickson. Hannah Guto. Julia Hutchings. Caitlin Jodwin. Wyatt Kilburn. David Long. Molly Mann. Jack Marcucci. Finn McGargan. Morgan McKeown. Peter Mikalakis. Ella Millard. Hadley May Moreau. Joshua Passarelli. Emma Patterson. Justin Ramos. Sophie Smith. Sierra Sohikian. Bradford Sokol. Theodora Stanley. Olivia Stokely. Jordan Zajac.
Thank you again, everyone, so much for being here. That concludes our formal program. I will ask that all the students please come on to stage one more time for one last final Main Track 2026 photo. Come on up. Right? Across the street. I'm bringing in cash, so.